Welcome to 16th century Japan during the Sengoku period. Besides arguably any Japanese person ever, what better way to represent this cherished samurai era than with Yasuke? The other protagonist is Naoe, and I decide I'm going to stick with her. I make a similar choice every time I pick a masseuse. It's not looking good as someone has come through my hometown and brutally murdered most of my neighbours. It's a real tragedy. Those vegetables are going to be badly bruised. I proceed to give the attackers a little shake and bake with my katana as I get revenge for those baby carrots. I then see a fallen comrade on the ground and he wants my help. There'll be no revive and stir fry for him though, he'll be eating a main course of shame with a side of seppuku. I kill the remaining attackers and then this bald guy is like, "Hey big girl, you have to go and assassinate the samurai who did this to our charming little village." I jog, flip and swim my way to his castle. I even dive into shallow water, which is always a good idea, unless you're my mate's brother Dennis. We call him the Battlefield franchise, because he's dead. I infiltrate the fortress and locate the bloke responsible for the war crimes. Why can't you have sex after playing Assassin's Creed? Because you be soft. I take down the unsuspecting warlord. We then jump 2 years earlier so my dad can teach me how to fight. I just backflipped, assassinated a notorious samurai leader, and now we've got the wooden swords out for some reason. My dad teaches me how to block attacks. His advice falls on deaf ears as I'll just be spamming the right trigger in every combat encounter like a king. Plus, the only thing I've ever blocked was Sydney Sweeney's personal Instagram account because she kept DMing me thirst traps. It's so annoying. I'm like 3 Sweeney nudes away from taking harassment legal action. My dad and I go for a little walk through the village. I decide to see what the good people of Samurai Town are up to. There's a lot of overfishing going on. Japanese people love murdering fish. I visited Tokyo a few years ago and at the airport for a welcome gift, they gave me a humpback whale. I pat some dogs who I'm sure are thankful they weren't born a few thousand kilometers to the west. I then do some climbing and spinning on high places. I then find something truly disturbing, a dead deer. My new mission is to find and punish the people who did this. I proceed to hit them with my wooden katana, which I guess would sting a little bit. I can't help but feel like they should be allowed to hunt deer. Like what should they be hunting, humans? The baby Kim Jong-un gives me a real katana and I head off into the world on a new mission. I must kill the legendary samurai Wada Katake before he can murder any more innocent people. First though, I must pimp out the crib because like the old Japanese proverb goes, a samurai should always be ready and prepared for house guests. The great warrior and scholar Miyamoto Musashi said that when he was renovating his downtown tea house. Bro had like 18 cherry blossoms. The only thing wetter than his giant indoor koi pond was every female he invited over. I add a building and a nice path between the 2 dwellings. It starts raining and I get pretty carried away constructing a full covered walkway with a pleasant side garden. This doesn't get me any closer to killing Wade, but at least now I won't get wet. The only thing worse than thrusting a katana into your own belly because you disgraced your family is damp smelling clothes. I set off into the Japanese countryside and stumble across a woman who's panicking as her cart of goods is gone. She proceeds to explain what happened.
My family sent me to sell our crops, but I got lost on my way. I ate them all.
This big girl is not only greedy, but also fiscally irresponsible. Don't get high on your own supply. We continue forward through the world and notice there's a place to meditate. I went to a therapist a few years ago when I was struggling with anxiety and they told me to meditate, breathe, and calm myself naturally. That's like telling someone who's been shot to close their eyes and pretend they don't have a bullet wound. I paid $400 for some bald guy to read out the first search result if you Google anxiety tips and tricks. Just give me a prescription for some Valium, a pat on the ass, and tell me all my problems are due to those around me and not myself. I proceed to meditate using the D-pad. Obviously in actual Japan, they don't use the D-pad to meditate, they use the A, B, X and Y buttons. We get transported to a time when it was foggy, which I guess is relaxing. Not having good vision means you can't see anything, and if you can't see anything, you can enjoy a blissful ignorance. If a tree falls in a forest but no one was there to hear it, did it actually make a sound? It's like I know people are getting trafficked all over the world, but I've never seen them, plus you can't put a price on affordable organs. Our meditation journey takes a turn for the worst as there's multiple people here who want to kill me. I have to fight some boss, but fortunately the battle takes place in about a foot of fresh water, so I win easily. I leave my meditation more frazzled and emotionally burdened than when I initially sat down cross-legged. I continue making my way through the world, assassinating people, climbing more tall structures, and a lot more slow camera spinning. In one of the cities, I see a man begging for money. Looks like he's saving up for a trip to Turkey to fix that hairline. Relatable. But there's no option to give him cash, so instead I just pat a cat. I spot a baddie who has perfected a sun-safe attire. The harsh rays will never sear her skin. The only time she's getting burnt is at the stake if she accidentally shows her ankles. Nah, that's more of a medieval European thing. I'm not so sure about this reference. But remember how scary it was losing your mum in the supermarket as a kid? Imagine being a Middle Eastern kid trying to find your mum. It would be like playing Where's Wally on ketamine. I always have this strong urge to steal boats whenever I play a game. I don't know if I believe in reincarnation, but if I did, I'm pretty sure I was a Somali pirate in another life. Imagine cruising over to a cargo ship off the west coast of Africa in a dinghy with a rusty AK-47 and a dream. That's the reality I wish I was living in. They are so lucky. Unfortunately, we can't steal the giant ships. I haven't been this disappointed since my mate came out as straight. He's this jacked Mediterranean guy who looks like a Greek god, and one day he woke up and decided he'd start sleeping with girls. My gay wingman went from getting me laid to sleeping with every girl I talked to, ensuring I was a born-again virgin. I dive from the top of the mast as Now A continues to do everything in her power to shatter each and every one of her vertebrae. Under the water is a fever of stingrays. I swim through them because there's nothing in Australian history that suggests this is a bad idea. I've been playing games for a long time, but somehow I managed to not figure out how to surface from the water and I drown, which is arguably just a more majestic way of committing seppuku. I pat some dogs to make myself feel better about drowning and then set my primary focus back to assassinating Wada. Apparently there's a blacksmith in the city who knows where he is, so I decide to rescue him to get information. I don't mean to virtue signal, but I just call blacksmiths Smiths because I don't see colour. I defeat the Smith's captor and he's like, "Hey teenage girl, can you please build me my own workshop at your crib?" Of course I can. First though, I need to relax a little via some more meditation. Meditation in this game is kind of like Guitar Hero, but instead of vibing to a popular pop song, you get transported to seemingly the most stressful possible scenarios. In this instance, we're transported to the middle of a cold winter famine. Before I can even make a snow angel, Now A decides to immediately meditate again. Meditation within meditation. Meditationception. This same feeling can be achieved by triple dropping. The town is pretty dead due to the cold causing a famine, and apparently the temple has been taken over by bandits. I then see that the scarecrows these dumb farmers have built are holding bows and arrows. I don't think birds know what a bow and arrow is. That being said, birds are one of the smartest animals. I actually bonded with this species of bird called a magpie. Magpies are these little Australian natives who swoop you when they have eggs in their nest. I had a family of magpies living in the tree outside, and I decided to make peace with them. I began feeding them, and it got to the point where I could walk out my front door and call their name. They were all called Jeff, and they would know it was feeding time when I said, "Jeff, Jeff, Jeff." Yes, they were all named after me. I realized that sounds pretty narcissistic, but I coined the name off the cuff, not realizing I was about to make lifelong friends. They would come right up to my hand and eat and chill out for a minute. They completely stopped swooping me, but they'd still swoop others who'd walk by. It was like I had a private security detail. Definitely my proudest ever achievement. I take the temple back with ease. It wasn't Ronin or anything, just starving farmers desperate to find food for their wives and children during the harsh winter. What a relaxing meditation experience. I build the Smith a Smith workshop and then pat all the puppies and kittens I adopted. There doesn't seem to be a limit on how many you can adopt, so I make myself a small domestic zoo. The Smith tells me of a cruel prisoner of war camp nearby that should lead me straight to water. We fight our way through the countryside on my way to the prisoner camp. While enjoying a dip in the ocean, I find a duck swimming. For some reason it mesmerizes me, and I can't help but watch the little guy paddle around for like 10 minutes. I locate the camp and it looks pretty sadistic with people hung up on stakes and human heads everywhere. That being said, the surrounding bushland is aesthetically quite beautiful. Being tortured is never great, but if you were going to get tortured, let it be right by a lush meadow. I find a vantage spot and begin tactically tagging each and every enemy so that I can stealthily and methodically eliminate all the targets. I jump down and am spotted immediately like I was an albino screaming Mexican trying to cross the border during a full moon. I fight dozens of enemies using an intricate combo of right trigger, right trigger, right trigger, right trigger. This big guy suddenly appears and my right trigger tactic no longer works. I start mashing buttons but nothing seems to hurt him. This guy is harder to break than an old Nokia phone. The big guy proceeds to slice me right open and I die a horrible death. I need to rethink my strategy and honestly big picture a few of my life choices. I dive into a pile of hay and then whistle. The general leisurely strolls over, and then I just poke him once in the belly with a dagger and he dies immediately. Wow. There's a lot of human heads scattered around, and also Asian Jesus, which is cool. I free the prisoners because I'm a great person. They proceed to jog out of the camp and then just post up right outside. What better way to enjoy your newfound freedom than standing right next to the death camp you were just a captive of while the heads of your family look at you lovingly? I learn the location of Wada. It's time to assassinate him. I briefly get distracted on some climbing side quest, and at the end of it is a treasure chest. Inside is a rare cloak hood, but this is actually the first time I've opened the inventory and I realize I have something far more drippy. A ragged peasant hat. In my lane, feeling free and confident, I charge towards Wada. I run all night and eventually reach a portal. I jump inside and transform into a large man made up of fragments. Here I can see my memories. Nothing more immersive than the game randomly turning into that scene from Interstellar. I talk to my bald monk friends and we agree to attack Wada tonight. We storm his fortress like it was the movie The Last Samurai, except with better production quality and an entirely different plot. I run past the peasants and find Big Wada himself, and he is pissed. Fair enough too. I'd be mad if I smashed weights and protein all day to become the strongest Japanese guy ever, only for a small Asian woman to roll around and occasionally jab me. And jab I do as I end his life in such a legendary way the screen color changes. Target down. The big man dies. Asian Lizzo appears and asks if we should execute the prisoners. Of course I say yes, and then she judges me for it. Why ask, Lizzo? Why ask? To celebrate my success, I return to the crib and build my greatest walkway yet. It's truly magical to run through, and at the end are a lot of dogs. I'll leave you with my favorite Japanese quote. Watashi wa apu na shinasi mizu no tamanari mojna jabin na hahoma karasha mokasitu, which roughly translates to, I would literally kill my own mother for a fresh glass of water. Check out my other channel, Papa Pelly, if you want more content. This is a lot better than you normally do already. I think the long straight highway is really your game.
You're so handsome and also clearly work out.
All right, let's not lie.
Okay, not great. Not great.
Yeah, this is a problem.
If you enjoyed this video, hit like. I love you.